Hi, my name's Gav and welcome to the channel. Look, is the North Ranger the best bang for buck ParaWing on the market, or is it budget bluff? Well, I can tell you that if you're brand new to ParaWinging or an experienced foiler chasing downwind sends, well, this wing promises early lift, clean handling, and a clever design without breaking the bank. But as always, there are some trade-offs you need to know about. So let's unpack it all, the wins, the quirks, and whether the Ranger deserves a place in your quiver. Now, before we do get started, I want to point out that North do support this channel. They have done from its infancy in supporting Bear Cottage. Now, on that note, I want to do a massive shout out to Mike, Alessandro, and the rest of the team at North for helping me. It means a lot, guys. Thank you very much. Now, as I said earlier, the sole purpose of this channel is to raise money for Bear Cottage. By liking, subscribing, and sharing this video, you help generate a revenue through advertising. So please do your bit and help out a really good cause. Okay, let's kick it off with low end grunt. And what I mean by this is the ability of the wing to pull you up onto foil as early as possible and in as light a wind as possible. Now, the Ranger probably has the best low end grunt of any of the ParaWings that I've used so far, which is a massive advantage for two reasons. Firstly, if you're an experienced rider, well, you can get away with using a smaller board, a smaller foil, or indeed a smaller ParaWing, any one of those combinations depending on your preferences. And on the other end of the spectrum, it's a massive advantage for those learning the sport. I see too many times people struggling and getting frustrated trying to get up onto foil with a ParaWing that's got a really good high end and stability, but it doesn't have the low end grunt they need to get that instant success and gratification. It accelerates the learning process, reduces those frustrations, and it's definitely something you should be looking for in your first ParaWing. Now, when you couple this low-end grunt with its ease of use, all of a sudden this becomes the go-to ParaWing for those wanting to learn. Now, I don't want to label this as a learning ParaWing because it's far from it, but we are in the infancy of its sport, so it's an incredibly good attribute to have. Now, on that note, the ease of use allows the rider to finesse those jibes, nail those tacks, and really get the stashing away dialed so you can enjoy the downwind runs. Let's talk now about some of the physical features that I like about the Ranger. And first up, we've got the color coordination of the canopy. The black leading edge is very distinguishable from the rest of the canopy. This makes identifying the leading edge in the water a piece of cake, and don't underestimate how important this is. It can be the difference between a cat's cradle's mess and getting it up in seconds and having an epic session. Next up, we have line length, and North have hit the nail on the head with this one. Now, too short and you lose low end and stability, too long and then it's really hard to pack away and stow. The Ranger's lines, even in the larger sizes, are the perfect compromise to this. And this leads me nicely onto my next point, which is its stow ability. The materials used allow for a swift and organized pack away, assuming of course that you use the right technique. I'm just going to pop a link up here where you can check out a 3-minute tutorial of how I do that. The lack of leading edge battens also improves this pack away and helps to get it into a small enough ball to stow into a stash belt without any issues. On the note of stashing, well, there is a stash belt on the way. I've not used it yet, but I've heard really good things. Can't wait to get my hands on that. It looks slick. More on that to come very soon. Now, as we're talking about accessories, I want to mention the backpack that comes with the Ranger, and I have to say I am a massive fan of this. Now, the beauty of the backpack is you can take out a spare ParaWing, a different size, which means that when you're doing downwind sends or indeed the wind changes, well, you can just rotate them out, and before you know it, you are back on the game again in the perfect wind conditions. Now, lastly, I want to talk about the price point, and this, matched with all the other points that I've talked about, that's important, makes it a very competitive ParaWing in my opinion. It's not just the price, it's the performance, the quality, and the features that you get with the Ranger, which makes it so competitive. There are some cheap alternatives out there on the market at the moment, but for bang for buck, I don't think you can beat the Ranger. Okay, so no brand escapes the dreaded dislike section, and for me, the Ranger has some features which I'm not a big fan of. And first up, we have the gust and upwind stability. Now, I want to point out that within its wind range, the Ranger goes upwind really well and handles gusts. The problem is if you put it outside of its wind range, you then start to see some of its limitations. There's a lot of things going on here to create this, but essentially because there's no stability in that leading edge that I mentioned earlier, no patterns, what happens is it deforms, it then creates a lot of drag, and then the wing then falls back into the wind window. Look, it definitely does go upwind and it copes with gusts. It just isn't in the same league as some of the other ParaWings that I've used. And this is intentional. This is a compromise that they have decided to go down for the lower end. And I can see why they've done that. Next up, we've got the dreaded color coding issue. Look, this is a bugbear of mine. They'd started off really well with the canopy, that's great, but they stopped there. The bar and lines are definitely needing some color for identification. Single colored bars make deploying harder than it needs to be. A quick glance down at a well colored bar can be the difference between successful launch and an absolute mess. Likewise, having each set of lines individually coloured and distinguishable is really important. Yes, there is a difference on the front lines with the Ranger, but in my opinion, it's just not enough. And then lastly, sticking with the bar is the abrupt ends. I found that lines can sometimes get tangled around them. Look, it's not a massive issue, but rounded bars definitely have less tangles than these abrupt ones. Now, I love this quote from Foil Rat. If you have a thought in parawinging, the lines will get tangled on it. And that is so true. So anything you can do to prevent that is worthwhile in my opinion. Okay, so the Ranger is an excellent parawing to use if you want to get into the sport. It's cheap, it's easy to use, and it's going to get you up onto foil super quick. In fact, I don't think you should be looking for a top-end, high-performance parawing when you're learning. It's just going to delay the learning process. Now, that being said, the Ranger is definitely not just a learning parawing. The fact that it's got great low end, its stashability, and the fact that you can take multiple parawings with you, well, that makes it a great option for downwind sends when there's a shuttle on offer. Look, if you're an experienced rider and you just want to go upwind, downwind, in really gusty conditions, yeah, I think there probably are better parawings out on the market at the moment. So it all depends on your experience level and what it is you want to get out of the parawing. Look, I hope you found that useful. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll do my best to get back to you. Remember to like and subscribe, really helps me out, and I'll see you on the water again soon.